Both Brian Cardinal and Todd Foster were each 4-year winners of the Ray Eddy Mr. Hustle Award. We welcome them both today. Please help me in welcoming Boilermakers for Life, Todd Foster and Brian Cardinal.
Where's BC at? BC, you coming up? There you are. Gotcha. Can you hear me all right? Do I need this? Don't like it. First of all, thank you, Tate and Jeff Rodeball. I mean, you guys really, it's an honor to come here to speak to everybody. It's an opportunity for me when they emailed us about coming and speaking. I'm like, what do they want to hear? I don't know. I mean, I could tell you stories, and I'm thinking, well, it better not be mic'd and better not be recorded. I got to keep it down. But in all seriousness, I mean, this is great for First Farmer. I mean, a lot of you guys in agriculture, it is awesome. That is my background. As BC would tell you, when we had practices, and I got mad sometimes in practices, I'll get pissed off, to be honest with you. And I get back in the locker room, and whoever, the kind of the rule in the locker room, whoever got in first and played your music first, and so I played my country music. And the days I was mad, I'd let the other guys play all that yappy, 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 and jamming thing. But when I was mad someday and I wanted to fight somebody, I'd come in and play country music. I remember Matt Tindam challenged me one day. He came in, this is woo. Man, I was ready to throw it down. And that country music, I wanted to play because that's what I grew up on. And that was my heritage. We didn't have neighbors. We had to get the chores done. So my whole thing was, this is great to come out and speak to a group of people that we can talk farming and, rodeo maybe and everything else. I enjoy it. I grew up from Washington, Illinois, small town. We had 1,200 kids. In the high school, I went to a country school, Pleasant View. I had 68 kids, K through 8. I had 7 kids in my class. Basically, it was, we had one room, 2 classes together, 1 teacher. And that was kind of, growing up. And my brother-in-law, Doug Lee, played at Purdue and graduated in '87, got drafted by the Rockets. I came in 8th grade and watched him play, and it was an eye-opener because the only thing we did growing up was going to horse shows every weekend, going to rodeos with my sister, watching her rope. That was my dream growing up, to get into livestock, to rodeo, and then I started getting into basketball and coming to Purdue and watching Doug play in front of Mackey Arena against Louisville. Remember Purvis Ellison? And that was, from then on, I was like, I want to play college basketball. And that was my biggest inspiration right there. And I came back, and man, I remember going down in the barn, we call it the Cow Palace, just shooting, you turn your ankle on some frozen, horse manure. Hey, that was awesome. But I worked and worked, and my ambition at that time was to get somewhere, to be productive and try to grow and be somebody successful in the game of basketball and use basketball to get an education. My mom passed away when I was 15. She had cancer. My sister already moved on. My sister married Doug. They were moved out. They were gone. He was, I believe, in Houston at the time. And my brother was playing Southern Illinois in baseball. And it was just my dad and I when Mom passed away. I was 15, and my whole biggest thing was I wanted to make him proud of me. He's never touched a basketball. You never wanted to see him shoot because he was a horrible shooter. But he had the biggest forearms. He was a dairy farmer. And I was always scared of him because he was one of those guys, hey, come here. You didn't bring the right wrench. Come here, let me show you what you got to get done. And I remember he always tried to show me, and when he had showed me, he kind of grabbed me right here and just said, let me show you. And I felt like a cat with her kitten. I just sat there just stunned. So when you always compare Coach Katie and my dad when I got here, Coach Katie was, he's softy. But, my whole thing was, my intentions of working hard and trying to be like him had nothing to do with basketball. He wasn't a sport hero to me. I've heard stories about how he played football. But I saw how he worked, digging fence posts, putting up fence. Mom would yell out, hey, supper's ready. He says, stay right here. We get this done, then we go eat. And I have trouble with that with my wife because she grew up a mile from the mall in Fort Wayne. And they get upset when supper's ready. It's getting cold. It's getting cold. 30 seconds later, like, hey, it's fine. No, it's getting cold. I'm like, let's finish our work first. And that's just my dad. That's how he embedded in my mind is you take care of your animals first before you get fed. You take care of your property. You do your work. And I think a lot of kids nowadays get distracted. And I don't want to get started on this little thing and kids sitting in the house doing this all day. But that, to me, is important because kids are our future. And I believe in when I was growing up, seeing my dad and wanting to be just like him. I wanted to be a basketball player and I wanted to outwork everybody. But I knew I wasn't going to be 6'9" and bald. Or 6'8.5", whatever you want to do. But that was my dream. And I knew I had to be like my dad. I wanted to be like him because I saw his work ethic. So as parents, I just believe you leave an impression on your kids. It starts at the home first. I'm a big believer in that. And then when Mom passed away, we worked and tried to get through everything. Dad would make spaghetti for the whole week. That's what we would have all week. We just heat it up. That was great. Now all of a sudden we come to Purdue, and I walk in. I didn't know the difference between a fraternity and a sorority. It was like people are saying this, and and I'm just thinking, man, there's squirrels right there. I could just pop right there. I could just pop them. And then, and then this honest story, this is back in 91. I had a shotgun in my dorm. I just pulled it out of the case and took it in the dorm, put it underneath the bed so when it's in season, I can go out and go hunting, somebody's property. Nowadays, I think that might not be good, But it's just different nowadays, and that was my whole philosophy growing up, not knowing anything, and here I am, just a little white guy walking into practice, and first game that we had, I was a redshirt. I remember Travis Trice was my roommate. I and Standback went with this, and I was driving my truck, and I come in, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're here to drop him off. You're the manager, right?" Yeah, you're right, yeah. I'm actually on the team. I'm not taller, and all that. But you get that, and to me, that always made me a little fireball. I was like, I got to prove something. And I'm not the biggest guy. But the biggest thing my dad always says, you judge it by the heart. You judge it by the heart. And I took that same kind of motto every time we went to practice. You got to fight. And you can teach your kids, hey, if you're going to get knocked down, you better lay on your back and get on your back so you can always look up, because that means you can get up. Don't get knocked down and lay flat on your belly. You look up and get knocked down and get back up and go right back at it. And that's what I started realizing. I never played against really 6'10", 6'8" guys. And Coach always said the air up there is thinner. They don't think right. You okay? You thinking all right, man? I'm not worried about you, though. But that was my biggest thing was like, what? I started realizing that because when guys started setting screens, I played football. I'm going to pop them in the hip, make them earn it. And I try to hurt. I did. I tried to pop them and get them a hip pointer. I don't care. They're going to try to screen me. They're going to earn it. I'm going to hit them. Except when I played against Steve Scheffler in a pickup game. He knocked me right on my ass. He was hard. Then I went around. He was tough. But that was my whole dream, was to get here. I'm at Purdue, finally getting here, and I want to play. And it was just overwhelming. And here I come from a small school, and actually now we have, we got buses in high school, actually. We actually had a locker room in high school. And then I come to Purdue, and you got all this Nike gear and all this. And I had no clue on a lot of this stuff. So it was really wide in my mind thinking, man, this is all new. And I remember Travis Trice, this kid from he was a junior. And he asked me one day on one weekend, I was just new, and he goes, "Hey, you going to the crib this weekend?" And I'm thinking, okay, my lingo is I'm not up to beat with this area or whatever. And crib, and I'm thinking, only crib I knew is like a corn crib. What is he talking about? And he kept on asking me crib, and I said, yeah, maybe, possible, yeah, crib, yeah. And he goes, you have no clue what I'm saying. Well, he meant crib meaning as home, you're going to your home. Well, my friends don't use that, Travis. We don't say crib. We say, are you going home? So I was trying to blend in with everybody and trying to pull my pants down my butt. Nowadays it's natural, but it's a little different back then trying to blend in with everybody. But it was an eye-opener. My music was different. My hobbies were totally different. I had the summer job working at Caterpillar. Coaches got us a summer job, and I was working at Caterpillar. I was inside, and I had hated it. I didn't know what the weather was outside. I didn't like being inside working. And so I took a pay cut and worked for a hog farmer just south of town. Loved it. Loved it. And then also I come in for pickup games at night, and guys would say, man, you smell. God, you need a shower. And I'm like, hey, smell of money. Come on. It's work. And I remember my roommate at that time was Stan back, who worked at Coca-Cola plant. And the guy there at work says, yeah, he keeps that 5-gallon bucket still every day. So he just sits on it all day to work, and I'm out working. That, to me, is a difference with kids nowadays. I mean, you got to get occupied by being physical. You got to work. The biggest thing, too, is when we're at Purdue, it's a family atmosphere. And seeing some people out here it's been dear to me, like Dan and Cy Harbison. Trying to think what years. 93, we went to Alaska Shootout. Cy lost his wife. My mom was passed, and my dad and Cy went together. It's emotional because they both lost somebody. And to me, as a player, I remember flying up there and seeing those two together because my dad didn't want to be there. Thank you, Cy, for being there with him. The hardest part as a player going to those games is you're wanting to be supportive, and I wanted my dad be proud of me. Instead of this, hey, he always told me I have a good game in high school. He sat there, I would have a great game, I'd come home, and he says, somebody's going to kick your, is there kids in here? I'm sorry. Kick your butt if you don't work harder. And I said, we just won. I just had 37 points or whatever. I set the state record one game, 11 threes out of 14. And he sat there, and he always was pushing me. And then when Mom passed away, it just changed. He was soft. And I felt the hardest for him because he didn't want to be the mean guy all the time, but he had somebody inside. Thank you. So when we were up in Alaska and they were together, that actually embraced me to play harder and be like a family. I mean, it pushed me over the limit as far as like, I'm out on the court, I am going to just bust everybody's butt. And I want our guys at Purdue to understand that, because you don't play for the back, you play for the front. You look at the ticket cost, it's crazy. Actually, I don't go because I like watching it at home, to be honest with you. Because you can rewind it and judge what they're doing wrong and all that. But I get upset with guys that nowadays they play AAU round all day. They play AAU, they're going here, they're told how great they are. Bull crap, go bell hay, I'll tell you how good you are. Go bell hay. None of them know how to bell hay. If they do, geez, that's amazing. And they don't know how to stack it right. And then you're going to redoing it twice. So the biggest thing is when they get here, they're told, they come in and they think, what can the school do for me? Bull crap. What can you do for the school? Play for this. Play. Why not bust your butt and dive for a ball? Why not take a charge? Because all these people are all around you. They pay tickets to come see Purdue. Why not? You're not that special. And if you are, you're going to play a little bit and you're going to be done. Your half of your season, your life is done when you're done at 30. If you're still playing, God gave you a talent to play till then, that's fine. But you've got to learn to work. If you enjoy, when you get a job someday and you enjoy what you're doing, that's awesome. But if you hate what you do, you go to work, that's called work. So enjoy what you do. And with Brian playing, he made another impact on me just when he came in because he played with a passion. Even though he had knee pads and elbow pads, I thought he was soft. I really thought you were soft, BC. I really, be honest with you, I never told you that, but you were soft. But nowadays, I was playing my little 7-year-old son, Bam Bam, and my knees were swelling up and all that. And I'm like, crap, Brian was pretty smart wearing all those pads. But I want our guys to understand what it takes to play. You play for the school, especially when you go down to Bloomington. Oh, I love that place. Love that place. They tell you you're number one, right? Where's Denny at? You remember they tell you number one, but with the other finger. Oh, you guy right there now. Come on. What are you doing here? There's nothing better going down to Bloomington my senior year and pulling in down to Bloomington, and they're like, they see the Purdue bus, or people coming by your bus honking, hey, you're number one, but you know what I get, and you know what they're doing. I'm like, yep, I got you. And then you get on that court, oh, it's awesome. Just a sea of red, and you see one little black shirt up there, and you're like, I got you. I got you. We're going to play hard. We're going to get it. And my senior year, we finally beat them down there, and it was awesome. Porter kicked the scoreboard, and nothing else happened, I don't think. So, yeah, I did get some calls about the little celebration, I think, in the middle of the court, but that was fun. We won it. Every time we lost a game, I felt like I'd let the coaches down. I felt like I let the Purdue people down. I was embarrassed to go to class the next day. We played Michigan State, or we played at home. I didn't want to go to class because I felt like I let everybody down. That was my feelings, and that was my kind of deal, how I competed, because I did not want to let Coach Katie down, Coach Weber down, all those guys, and let their students know. I mean, that was bad for me. And when we come back the next game, I love road games. It was hard playing at home because you're shooting a free throw, and everybody just dead silent, and you're like, oh, crap. It's like putting. Please, people talk. I don't, all the attention. When you're on a road game, everybody's cheering. You can focus on the one thing that's not moving, and it's awesome. And then when you miss it, they cheer for you. It's perfect. But if you make it, they shut them up, and you're like, I'm the big dog now, and it's fun. It's fun. Those opportunities that I had, it goes for me forever. And I'm trying to install it to our guys here. I do the academics with our guys. Oh, gosh. Some of them would be a challenge. I just got a text. Carson was late in class. It reminded me to text coach on that. But I tell you, it's a blessing, though, to be able to represent Purdue and say this is my home. This is my home, and see the Purdue alumni and take pride in it. I wish they'd take this stuff off and put Purdue back here and put Purdue, Purdue Boilermakers. Play for the school, learn to work hard, learn to outdo each other on the court and be a family and help each other. I mean, that to me is it's a blessing, and I try to install that to kids I work out nowadays. Because as parents, it starts at home. And each kid thinks they're something. I say, you're something, but someday it's over. You need to listen to your parents because someday they're your number one fan. Someday you're done playing whatever sport it is. Nobody's going to be cheering for you, but you still have a number one fan. That's your parents. So the respect I hope kids give to the parents are important to me nowadays. Kids need to understand that. Every kid thinks they're good in that. No, do chores first. Do chores. Make them, not like Brian, he's on the phone right now. No, you're good. I like getting you B. I like you BC. But no, just when they start doing that stuff, to me, that is important because our kids are our family. And they're the future, and that's my values of growing up. And I get sidetracked, and it's the hardest part. I mean, I know BC's got to go and put everybody to sleep, maybe. No, you're going to be all right. You're good. He's got great excitement. I love this guy. He told me we were in Wisconsin. Remember your freshman year when you're redshirting? We were getting on a plane. We couldn't fly out because it was iced up, and we were driving back, and we sat there. That bus was packed, and he sat there and goes, Todd, I don't think I'm good enough to play here. I'm like, man, you play hard. You're fine. Well, look what he's done nowadays. Unbelievable. And it's all about work ethic, outdoing the other guys. I loved it. He will outwork you, and he plays with enthusiasm. The enthusiasm, the 3 E's coach always says, enthusiasm, energy, effort. That's what kids should be doing right there, what he does. Even though you played with knee pads, I got you on that one now. But also, though, I mean, that to BC, he played the game. So if you can get tapes nowadays and have your kids watch how he played, that's what they should learn. It's not about scoring. It's not about shooting 30 shots a game and doing all that, doing other things that make everybody else better. So I'll quit this up and make sure your kids understand every day you make the most of it and appreciate, everything that's given to them, because the opportunities in life, it goes quick. It goes very quick. When these new athletes come in, they're born in 2001 and they don't even know who Big Dog is. And I'm like, man, he was a stud, I still got a pair of his shoes. He doesn't know, so. Well, hey, real quick, I'm going to talk about my NBA experience. Okay, Brian's turn.
That was awesome.
Be good.
Oh, man. You hear me okay? All right. Well, first off, I probably should have went first. I didn't realize that he was going to throw me under the bus as much as he did. And I like to use the term fragile. I was fragile. That's why I had the knee pads and elbow pads on. First, one thing that I like to do when I go around and speak, I like to survey the crowd, and I like talking to older crowds because I know, at least I think, that I can outrace you if I have to. And so the one thing I like to do is I like to bring my championship ring, and I'll pass that around. And I won a championship in 2011 with the Dallas Mavericks. And so I've set the stage already that I've got somebody by the elevators and another person by the stairs. So if you guys take off, no, I'm kidding. I like passing it around just so you can kind of see it. That for me, that was always my biggest goal. Winning the championship. That was something I thought was pretty special. And I like passing it around because it's kind of a thank you to the Purdue fans because they always supported me. And it's also a thank you to all the IU fans and all the Illinois fans because you guys hated me and kind of motivated me to work hard. So check it out. It's when we first won it, when I first got it, I was speaking to a big crowd and I said, it's just so big and bulky and massive, and I don't really ever wear it. And somebody in the background kind of raised her hand, a lady, and I said yes. And she said it's diamonds. It can never be too big. And so I stand corrected. I'm excited to be here. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to share a few stories. I know a lot of you in the crowd. Went to college with Kerry Malby, who's a rock star of a person. Went to high school with a guy named Eric Stevens. He's in the back. All good people. But I tell you, I'd like to also tell Todd, thanks for really just setting a good example for me. When I came, I grew up in Tolono, Illinois, a town of about 2,400 people. And when I got here to Purdue, I was so darn scared. I was excited to be here, but I was petrified. And Todd was an absolute incredible person to follow his lead. He was a tremendous mentor, great role model, somebody that really kind of inspired me to play as hard as I could. So thank you for that, Todd. I probably should have told him I was going to thank him, so maybe he wouldn't have harassed me so much during his talk. What I like to do is I'd like just to share a few stories about my time in college, my time in the NBA, kind of what I'm doing now. And then Todd and I are happy to answer any questions you guys might have. I would like to just to state that I'm an incredible pumpkin farmer. I'm lying. I'm a horrible pumpkin farmer. But I tell you, when I was here at Purdue in the summertime, my summer job was working at a farm in Brookston, just down the street. And I'm a firm believer that I think one of the worst jobs working on the farm was picking up rocks. And that's what I did, it seemed like every day. And I would just be out there picking up rocks. And then I got down into a grain bin and had to scoop out, I think that's what it was, a grain bin, scoop out the bottom of the grain bin. And then I realized that might be the worst job ever. And then I forget what the third job was, and then I just realized farming's hard. And so then I had the bright idea that we bought a farm over in Westfield, and I figured I was going to grow some pumpkins and some gourds for my kids. This was going to be incredible. And my first harvest was out of sight. It was awesome. I had more pumpkins and gourds and all kinds of stuff. And so I come home, I'm calling my neighbors over, and they're checking it out, and I'm saying, take some, we got plenty. And then the next year, I grow pumpkins, I plant more seeds, and it's going to be great. I'm telling everybody that I'm a great pumpkin farmer. And I come home after the first harvest, and I've got 9 pumpkins. And Danielle, my wife, says, "Oh, these are great. When are you going to go back and get more?" And I said, "Well, this is all we have. We can go to Kroger, and we can buy some more." So I tell you that, farming's hard. And, Bruce mentioned earlier about the uncertainty. I'm certainly not a very good farmer. That's the one thing I do know. But I think growing up in a small town that I did, working on a farm, growing up, working on a farm here at Purdue, it really just instills some values that I think are incredible for young kids, credible for people nowadays. And we have a farm, like I mentioned, in Westfield. We kind of go over and tinker around, but we've got a smart farmer that goes over and he knows what he's doing. But farming to me is special. And so when I was asked to come here and share just some thoughts, and I kind of jumped at the opportunity. And so growing up, I was a huge Illinois fan. My father worked at the University of Illinois. He was athletic trainer for the men's basketball team. And as I was growing up, I was a huge Illinois guy. And everybody always would ask me why I didn't go to Illinois. Well, I didn't go to Illinois because I wasn't recruited. And I was fortunate that Coach Katie and Coach Weber came over and saw me play. I still remember them coming to our house for a family, for an in-house visit. And Coach Katie, Coach, he wore his emotions on his sleeve, shockingly enough. I'm sure everybody saw that. And so he came into my house. He's just an intimidating presence. And he sits down and looks at me and looks at my parents. And he says, "Okay, what the hell's going on with Illinois?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, man." And I just had this look on his face. And so we told him we weren't being recruited and this and that. And then he said, "What the hell's wrong with them?" And I said, "Who knows?" But having Coach Katie there, having him tell me how great the university is, having him talk to me about the tradition of Purdue basketball, those are all things that really sold me to come here and to be a part of this university. Some of my college highlights, some of my most memorable times were playing against Illinois. So my father, he would always sit on the front seat right next to Coach Henson, and so he always had the best seat in the house whenever we would play him. And first couple games, we would bicker back and forth, and he would say a few things, not during the game, but before. And by the third game, fourth game, seventh game, and finally the ninth game, he wasn't saying much because we never lost Illinois. Finished 9-0 against them, which I remind him of that as often as I can. So that was a pretty special moment for me. I obviously playing against Bobby Knight, going down to Bloomington, as Todd had mentioned, that was a special place to play. Those were great teams that they had. And every time we went down there and played, I would always make a beeline, whether we won or lost, and congratulate or thank Coach Knight and just wish him the best of luck. I respected him because he was a brilliant basketball mind. He was a little knucklehead at times, but he being able to play against him, a tremendous competitor, was something special. And being able to go down to Bloomington and win was pretty amazing. Having a chance to play in front of 14,000 fans, was always pretty great. We won a Big Ten championship my first year with Todd, and just being around that environment, that atmosphere was awesome. And I realized early on when I redshirted as well my first year, and I mentioned that I was scared and I was petrified, and I had a unique style of play, and I wore the knee pads and the elbow pads because everybody kept knocking me down. That's what I told people. But the reality is I needed to find a way to play. I needed to find a way to fit in and kind of create my own niche. And I realized early that not everybody wanted to take the charges, and not everybody wanted to dive on the floor and give the team those extra possessions. And so when Todd graduates, I knew that I had to kind of fill that void of being that tireless worker, being that guy that would do all the little things. And I realized pretty quick that I wasn't going to make it very far if I kept on diving and having all these bumps and bruises, because man, that floor is hard. And so I came out one day with these knee pads, and they looked at me like I was nuts. And then the next day I had these elbow pads, and they really looked at me like I was crazy. But man, I felt so darn good sliding around. And then Coach Katie had this great idea. He said, you know what? We'll put everybody in knee pads. So then everybody on my team was pissed at me because they all look like a knucklehead, and they got knee pads, and they're like, "What in the what? Really? What are you doing?" And so so at practice we were all wearing these knee pads, and they were pretty mad at me, but they were still able to look cool during the game because then they could just wear their uniform, no knee pads or elbow pads for them. But I had to kind of find my niche to play and to compete, and that's, I think, what allowed me to have some success, was to be that tireless worker, to be that hard worker, to do those little things. And so being able to come here to Purdue, being able to represent Purdue and to compete at a high level was something pretty special. I had no idea if I'd ever make it to the NBA. Speaking of that, where's that ring, by the way? Okay, all right. No, I'm just kidding. I had no idea I'd ever make it to the NBA. I was just so excited to get a scholarship here to Purdue. I still remember going to a job fair in between my junior and senior year, and I had worked so hard on my resume, and I was going to go to this job fair. I was going to get a job, and I was just going to that's what I was going to do. And I went to the job fair, and I stood in the corner, and I had all my classmates going to the different booths, and they're all walking by me, and they're saying, "Oh, I talked to so-and-so for 30 minutes. It was great." And I'm like, "Man, that's awesome. That's great. Congratulations." And then somebody else would come up to me and say they talked to whoever. And there I stood, nervous with my 10, 15, 20 resumes, trying to figure out what I was going to do, after I graduated college. And had a good senior year. Still, again, no idea that I was going to play in the NBA. And I got drafted by the Detroit Pistons in 2000. Ended up playing 12 years. The average career is 3 to 4 years. And I think the reason why I was able to last as long as I did was because of the values that were instilled in me here at Purdue. That work ethic that allowed me to continue to play for a long time. I was drafted in 2000 by Detroit. I had no idea that I was going to play as long as I did. I was there for 2 years. Realized rather quickly that it's a business when my wife and I are out to dinner, and I get a phone call on my phone, and it's my agent saying that you just got traded, and they said, "No, my agent, it's why I paid him, I guess." He calls and says, "You got traded." "No, you got traded to Washington, but they really, really want you." And I said, "No, they don't." And he was like, "Oh, no, they do. And I said, "You're crazy. They don't want me." So it turns out I go to Washington. So my third year, I'm in Washington, and have a chance to play with Michael Jordan, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and to be able to be around him, to be able to kind of see his work ethic. He was 40 years old and still rather incredible. But just to be able to be around him, it's funny. My first moment with him, I'm trying to find a way to to stay on the Wizards and stay on the team. And so I'm thinking that I need to make a good impression on Michael Jordan. And sure enough, one practice rolls around, and Doug Collins is our coach, and he brings us together and says, hey, this is what we're going to do at practice today. So we're going to do some shooting. We're going to do some 3-man weave. We're going to do some shooting. We're going to do some 5-on-5, and then I'm going to get you out of here. And I'm thinking, boom, perfect. This is going to be great. 2 hours. I can. Yeah, it's going to be great. Something I gotta do something to make Michael Jordan notice me. So he says, yeah, I need Cardinal to play more. Whatever is going through my head, which probably was inaccurate. I'm thinking I got to do something. And so we get out there. We got a 3-man weave going, and I'm on Michael Jordan's 3-man weave team. Michael Jordan, Charles Oakley, and myself. And so we go down back and make our layups, and it's great, incredible, it's awesome. Make them, whatever you can do in 3-man weave. I was running as hard as I could, trying to make a good impression. Run down back is perfect. We go up, we get up next time, down back, perfect. Finally our third time, I'm thinking I got to do something. So I'm running as hard as I can. I get the ball, I give it to Jordan. I run behind him, get the ball from Charles Oakley. Get ready to give the ball to Michael Jordan, and I run as hard as I can around him, and I clip his leg, and boom, he falls. And I'm thinking in my mind, man, that's probably not what I really needed to do. And so sure enough, he falls. The athletic trainer at the time, Pete Rose slides into him, making sure that he's okay. I've got Charles Oakley and everybody else looking at me like they're going to kill me. And I looked down and I said, hey, Mike, are you okay? And he said probably 30 words to me in my entire time on the team, and he said about 28 of them right there. And so that didn't really work out well. So in my mind, I needed to do something to motivate him to say I need him on playing more, and it turns out that I was cut a couple months after that, and so I don't know if me tripping him had anything to do with it. And so after my time in Washington, I go to Spain for 6 weeks. I play over there and come back and have a chance to go out to Golden State, play for the Warriors. So I'm with the Warriors for a year, play really well. End up going to Memphis for 4, get traded to Minnesota for 2, and then I finish up my career in Dallas for 2. So, my wife and I, we called it the Traveling Roadshow, just because you didn't know. When you're on a non-guaranteed contract, they can cut you at any point. Being able to play, being in that atmosphere, being able to be on those teams was really quite special. I remember when I was in Dallas, again in my mind, I've got to do something to kind of set myself apart. And Mark Cuban's walking in, or he's walking out of the locker room. I'm walking in, and I'm thinking I got to say something to Mark Cuban. This is my moment. And I walk in, I say, hey, how you doing, Mark? And he walks by and says, hey, Dad, and kind of kept on walking. And I stopped and I turned around. I said, hey, Mark, I said, I'm Brian. He's like, oh, hey, Dad. I said, why did you call me Dad? He's like, well, you look old enough to be my dad. And I'm thinking, oh, man, this isn't going well either. And plus him being an IU guy, I figured there's no way I'm going to end up making this team. And sure enough, I ended up playing, winning the championship, coming back that next year, playing again. And people always ask me, you played 12 years, that's great. Why didn't you play a 13th? Why didn't you keep it going? I said, trust me, I would love to have kept on going, but nobody was answering my calls. And being a professional athlete, it's a unique world. It's a great world to be a part of, but it's an interesting world because everybody's their own brand, everybody's their own identity, and everybody's trying to help the team win. But at the same time, they're trying to make money, they're trying to get a next contract, and so there's a lot of competing forces there. But I wouldn't trade my time in the NBA. I wouldn't trade my experiences, the people that I learned from, the people that I still remain close with. Before I found out we were going to be taped and mic'd, I figured that I was going to share all kinds of great stories. But then I figured the video would probably come back and haunt me at some point. I finished playing in 2012. I had a chance to come back to Purdue. I do a lot of work for the John Purdue Club now. I do some fundraising. I still do some stuff for the NBA. I still stay in touch with a lot of the people throughout the different organizations. But the opportunity to come back here to Purdue, the opportunity to come back and be a part of the great things that they have going on here was something special to me. Because it gives me the opportunity to be able to give back and to interact and really just thank all the alums and all the other people that really impacted my life kind of throughout my time here. So I enjoy being around. It's interesting. I thank a lot of the Purdue alums. Like I mentioned earlier, I always know when I'm talking to an IU grad or an Illinois grad, because they always open up their opening line is, "God, I hated you." And so then you're just kind of standing there stunned, kind of wondering where the conversation's going. How about now? How do you feel about me now? You okay? I'm excited to be here. I appreciate it. Todd and I, we'd love to answer all kinds of questions if you have any. I don't have any tweaking my ankle on a frozen cow patty, or do you call it cow patty? Do you call it cow? What do you call it? Dung? Poop? Happy to answer any questions. I've got, I'll defer all the farming questions to Todd. If you have any questions about basketball, happy to chat. We got a pretty special team this year. I'm sure a lot of people are glued to the TV. Who knows how great we're going to be? But we've got a special group of young men that go out there and compete and play hard. Everybody says we're going to make the Final Four. Everybody says we're going to win a championship. I just want to win the next game, and I'm confident that we'll keep playing hard. I don't know if we'll make 23-pointers the next game. But the one thing I do know about our team is we're going to go out and compete. That's something that I think Todd and I were a part of when we were here at Purdue. Just that effort, just that competition, just that that never say die attitude, and I think they have that this year. So I'm excited to kind of see how they continue to go throughout the Big Ten. Yes, sir. About pain?
Yeah.
Oh, pain. I was going to pain. Well, they're all, he'd say they're a pain in the ass. I would say it hurts. Paying college athletes. Todd.
It's just pain. Okay, I tell you something. My dad always had a rule for me when I was playing sports. He says, if you get hurt in a game and you fall down, if a coach has to come out, you're done. I'll tell the coach, you are done for that game. It kind of makes you get up quick. When you fall down and you get the wind knocked out, you can't breathe or whatever.
How about paying, right? Paying, right?
Are you talking about pain
or
pain?
You got to work with him, man. He's from rural Illinois. Work with him. Be gentle.
Give me a tutor. Pain or paying? Paying? Paying. Money?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crap. You mean college students?
Yeah.
You get an opportunity to come and play at a university, a free education? Are you kidding me? And you want money? And these students out here that are busting their butt, they don't have tutors and they're paying, they're taking loans out, and these student athletes say, I need to get paid because all the money. Well, if the school's getting money, put it to lower the tickets. Do something different. Do not pay the student athletes. I have pretty strong about that.
Love it.
I don't believe in paying the student athletes.
What other questions do you have for Todd?
Get me fired up over here. Sorry. Give me another coffee.
Yikes.
Thank you so much. So similar to your experiences with IU, Illinois fans, agriculture does this every single day. We constantly have people that are bombarding us with negative opinions. What are some tips that maybe you could provide farmers, agriculturalists, to give us some tips about how to handle that? How maybe you handle that we can actually take that from?
Oh, man, boy.
You're the management major. Come on. I just got to sit with Big Dog in class. I had to help him get through. You asked about the negativity. How do you get past some of the negativity? Is that right? No. That's a good question. I mean, goodness gracious. No, I'm kidding. I think, for me personally, negativity, for me, that helped kind of fuel me. There's negativity all throughout. And, to be able to surround yourself, I talk to a lot of people, to be able to surround yourself with good people that will tell you when you're doing something stupid, will tell you when you need some help, when you need some encouragement. I'm a big fan of surrounding yourself with good people. That I think helps cut down on some of that negativity. But in this day and age, it's tough because it's social media, all the different things that are out there. I'm a firm believer that I think it'd be great that if they just published or they printed or they tweeted all the good things, like the real things that were happening. But I think negativity, I think it's what people want. I think it's part of the culture. But I think and we all get it, whether you're a farmer, whatever industry you're in, professional athletes. It's a way to, I think it's important to find a way to process it. Surrounding yourself with good people, I think, is important. And I think one thing that I grew up on, my dad was a big, would always leave us notes around the house. He was somebody that would write a couple of sayings and put it up on the mirror. And I was talking one day, and he was in the crowd and talking to a big group, and I just thought that was amazing that my dad would always leave these inspirational notes, and I was praising him. And then my dad, of course, he raised his hands. He said, I wasn't writing those to inspire you. I was writing those because you would never listen to me. And I'm like, oh, man. Yeah. But the one thing that he would always tell me was preparation plus opportunity equals success. And it's something that I've always tried to live by. If you prepare yourself for the opportunity, you'll be successful. I think we would all agree, regardless of industry, there's always opportunities out there. And if you're prepared for that opportunity, when that opportunity comes, you'll have some success. My background is basketball, and there was a lot of times I would play with guys that would be angry that they're not playing. They think the coach is mad at them. They think this, money. This guy gets paid more than me, so he's going to play. And so they'd be on the sideline frustrated. And then all of a sudden, that guy that was playing in front of him would get hurt. And now all of a sudden, he's got to come up and he's got to play. And so then he would get in, then he would try to get in shape in a day and a half. And he would do all kinds of sprints. And he would do all kinds of extra shooting. Versus, and he would always struggle. He would always fail because he wasn't prepared for that opportunity. And so for me personally, I would always try to do the work throughout. I would always try to be ready for that opportunity. And I think that relates to other people's industries as well, because I think you're always trying to prepare, and you're not always going to have success, but I think if you prepare yourself for that opportunity, you're more times than not you will have success. You will be able to learn from it. You will be able to have greater opportunities. I don't know if that answered any question. What other questions? Yes, sir.
Both of you give me the best talk in 8 months of your jobs or one of your teammates.
Oh, man. The best time, goodness gracious. I'm a talker. I enjoy talking, and that doesn't really work out well when Coach Katie's having practice. And so, for me, one of my main experiences, or I guess maybe I'll share two. The first one was, during practice, I don't think I've ever fouled in my life, and ever. But Coach Katie would call them on me, and so we'd have practice, and I'd foul somebody, and I wouldn't think it's a foul, and he'd call it, and I'd say, well, Coach, I don't think that was a foul. And so he'd look at me sideways, and we'd keep on playing, and then he'd call another foul, and it was on me, of course, and I said I wouldn't foul. And then we'd go down, and I'd try to shoot a shot, and I'd get fouled. And I said, Coach, you didn't want to call that foul? And he says, okay, everybody on the line. And I'm like, oh, man. And normally when he puts the team on the line, you run it down back, and you're done. You kind of a little conditioning. You do something wrong, everybody on the line, miss a defensive assignment, you get on the line, you go down back, and you're done. Well, this time, I said, Coach, I wouldn't foul, or, you missed that one. He's like, okay, Cardinal wants to be ref. And I'm like, oh, man. So everybody on the line. So we get on the line, and I say, hey, Coach, just let me run. I'm thinking down back, it'll be easy. I'm a jerk. I'm sorry. He says, you know what? Perfect. Put 10 minutes on the clock. And so sure enough, the whole team with their knee pads are up by the water cooler, and here I am. I'm running back and forth and back for about 8 minutes. And so I realized pretty quick that I probably should stop reffing and stop talking, and just let him run the show. And so that was one of my Coach Katie stories. Another time I was Central Michigan. Todd was playing. I was paranoid. I was scared, and I wanted the red shirt. And so I'd go to Coach Katie every other day, and I'd say, Coach, I want a red shirt. And he told me to shut up and move on. And then I kind of started working it into my conversations with him. He's like, hey, Cardinal, how was class? Oh, man, I'd love the red shirt. Like, how the hell was class? And I'm like, oh, yeah, math was great. Can I have a red shirt? And so finally, we're in Central Michigan and at the hotel before the game, and I call up Coach on the phone, and I said, hey, Coach, you have a couple minutes? And he says, yeah, come on in. And he's like, come on down to the room. And so I walk down to the room, and my man, he opens up the door. He's got his hat on. He's got a cigar in his mouth. He's not smoking. He's just got a little cigar. He's got the hat, his hair sticking up like that. And I said, hey, Coach, I look a little closer, and he's got his white shirt on, and he's got his whitey-tighties on, his underwear. And I'm thinking, oh, man, you want me to come back? He's like, no, come on in. So I walk in, and I hear the door shut, and I just kind of get a little scared, and he looks at me. He's like, what do you want? And I said, well, I'm thinking in my mind, I'd like for you to put pants on. That's the first thing I'd like. That's what I would love. And so I explained to him that I'd like the red shirt, and he told me that I was nuts, and he says, okay, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And he says, what else you want? I said, nothing, and I ran out of his room because I didn't want to be in that room anymore with him, just having his underwear on. Coach Katie's a great person, tremendous competitor. But those were two stories that I love about Coach. Todd, what do you got?
Forgot the question after listening to that. No, I don't know if you guys know what a mullet was. That was my biggest thing. He got on me. I listened to him every time. He said, play hard, play hard. I was going to take somebody out. I don't care. But when I got to Purdue, coming from Washington, Illinois, everybody had a horse or a Harley. So we all had long hair. When I played football in high school, my hair always curled up, but I always put it in a ponytail. So, think of what Coach said about that. And I'm thinking, well, look at his hair. And then he's changed my eye. Yeah. I didn't say that, and this is videotaped. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
But anyway, I get there, and you go, God damn, Foster's got his hair. He's got a damn mullet. Cut those curls. He always got on me for cutting my hair. And I said, if I cut my hair anymore, guys back home are going to make fun of me, think I'm a prep and all that. And he goes, cut it, you know. So I didn't know what a mullet was, to be honest with you, until I got here and Painter said, you got a mullet. I said, what's a mullet? Says, what is it? What do you call it? Party in the back, business in the front or something? Nowadays it doesn't matter because I can't grow it. So, but he always got on me for that. And the only other time when he ripped us and I took it to heart was when, okay, how should I say this? When Glenn, big dog, we were at study table, knocked somebody out. There's more details to it. Knocked somebody out, and coach came and was going to kick everybody out. Said, kick out, I'm going to kick Glenn off the team. And we sat there and I said, Coach, you can't do that. Can't do that, Coach. And he, shut up. I'm going to do whatever I want. And then we're thinking, oh my gosh, he's the best player. Well, he never got kicked off. So I just felt like, I don't know if I made the impression or he just got mad and he was yelling at me then, but I was trying to be the person. But Glenn was just a competitor, the best player I ever seen in person. We loved him and we did not want him to go. And I don't think Coach did either, because every time we got on the bus, all right, is Glenn on? All right, we're good, let's go. That's the truth. I mean, he always asked if Glenn was here.
All right, one more question. Any other questions?
Todd, did you recreate
Your dance at Assembly Hall yet?
Yeah, no, I don't do, no dancing on assembly. I just enjoy watching our guys play now.
How did you compare rodeoing?
Big Ten basketball.
I like
Rodeoing?
contact. I like
Big Ten
contact.
basketball.
It got me fired up. I mean, if I get a little pop, man, that's like another cup of coffee. Let's go. I drank 6 to 8 cups of coffee before every game. That was just me. I mean, when you're 6 foot and you're playing against guys like that, that just gave me, that made me make them look like 6 foot then. I would be wired up and I'm like, bring it, let's go. And I'd talk smack and I'd say, go get him, Glenn. Go get him. I'm going to sit over here.
Pulling for you. That's
Front row
awesome.
seat against the Fab Five. There you go.